Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sergeant Thompson. There was then a further strategy meeting, I think, on the 6th of January 2020. Do you recall that?
I do, yes.
I think you can confirm that by the time of that strategy meeting, neither the Merseyside Police assessment of AR's devices nor the school internet history were available.
No, they weren't.
We look briefly at the record of the follow-up strategy discussion. It's LCC 4023, please. Thank you. And if we can just go to page 2. We see in the middle of the page, if that can be expanded, prevent. AR has been seen by the team, which is obviously accurate by this stage, and is not felt that he has any issues regarding the channel prevent programme. There were no concerns that he was being led into criminality or radicalised. It was noted that he showed no remorse for the incident. The reference there to no concerns that he was being led into criminality or radicalised, that was, on one view, entirely accurate, because there was no evidence at all of any third party, specific third party, somehow influencing AR into a particular ideology. Would you agree?
Yeah.
There wasn't a religious group that were grooming him or anything like that?
No.
No. So in one sense, that is accurate, but what that doesn't seem to address is, of itself, the use of violence, the marked interest in violence, potentially, again, on the policy, could be enough by itself. You recognise that?
I do, yes.
And I will move off from this topic following this final aspect I want to raise with you. If we could briefly have on screen CTPNW 30148. Your police statement. Sergeant Thompson, I'm not going to go through the totality of this statement to prove a negative, all right, but I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. I don't think that there is any reference anywhere in your police statement to the concept of the unclear or unstable or mixed ideology and the potential for school massacre shootings of themselves without an ideology being sufficient to go into channel. You've said a number of times that you were aware of that and you'd had practice of it. Might it be that your knowledge and understanding of that by the time you were giving this statement and by the time you were giving your statement to the inquiry was actually greater than it really was at the time when you were doing the first referral?
I don't think that my knowledge was greater. I think I'd been able to access and refresh my memory with the guidance and legislation because I'd not been in that role for some time when I provided this initial statement.
I want to look at the contact between you and the FIMU in January as it moved towards closure. Could we have on screen, and it's a slightly tricky document, CTPHQ 4087 at the first page, please. And if we could have the two-thirds of the page in the bottom right so that we can see the text. The two-thirds in the bottom right, that's perfect, thank you. So if we can pick it up where it's updated, Tom 5905 is you, 7th of January 8:53. got visit to the subject on the 3rd. There was no CTDE ideology. Please see the attached record of the meeting, which we've looked at. And then attended the strategy meeting on the 6th of January. Please see the attached record that we've looked at as well, touched on briefly. Please can you advise if this can now be closed to prevent? Many thanks. Who are you asking for advice on whether it could now be closed to prevent?
I think, again, it's probably the way that I've written that. I was just updating FIMU of the actions that I'd taken and the information that I'd received, and I was just checking there wasn't anything else that I needed to be aware of before it closed, any other intelligence or information that might change that decision.
And this was going to Officer B, yes?
Yes.
And Officer B's replied, the above has been reviewed and can now be closed in relation to the incidents at school. This is being dealt with by the Merseyside Police, who've taken the matter to CPS, the subject excluded from school, and is open to social services. I mean, on the face of that record, it looks like you asking Officer B if it can be closed, and Officer B telling you, yes, it can be.
I'm just asking, is there any other information that I need to be aware of that would change the risk or my decision to close? The decision to close was my decision to make.
Are you sure you weren't deferring too much to the FIMU?
I don't believe I was, no.
Whose principal focus would have been on the counter-terrorism and domestic extremist risk, rather than on the wider prevent aspects.
Yeah, I agree.
You understand why it might look that way, at least on the face of this exchange?
I do, yeah.
Coming to the decision to close the referral, if we look, please, at CTPNW 30122. At page 31, please. We can see there the rationale being given for the request to close. And I'm not going to go through it now because I've asked you about it and you've explained it in a number of ways in detail. But I want to step back and look at the overall picture in light of the answers that you've helpfully given this morning. So there were, I think, 4 things that I think, in a way, you have accepted. The first is the Vulnerability Support Hub, which was an action that, by a human error oversight, you hadn't taken forward. Would you agree?
I do, yes.
And secondly, there was the school internet history, which you've accepted should have been obtained before this was closed, yes?
Yes.
And you have said that had that come back and shown repeated looking at degloving injuries, that would have been enough to make the difference for you on its own.
Yes.
Thirdly, that then would have fed into a greater intensity in looking at the devices that was being taken care of by Merseyside Police in terms of doing more work on what they should be looking for, search terms. Yes. And fourthly, you've accepted that even without the benefit of hindsight, you accept that you should have taken a more sceptical approach to what AR had said to you in the meeting with him on the 3rd of January. So do you accept all of those 4 factors?
I do, yes.
And should we understand that because the degloving information from the internet history alone would have made the difference, if all 4 of those had been done, it would have justified putting the case forward to Channel.
Yes.
Yes? And more than that, that would have been plainly the right judgment to make, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Supervision of this first referral. If we look at CTPNW 30122 at page 33, that's the current document, forgive me, page 33, I think we can see, DS Neil, this entry, the concerns related to Prevent have been explored and do not appear to be linked to an ideology or a vulnerability to radicalisation. There are vulnerabilities and needs which are being met by mainstream safeguarding, in this case can be closed to Prevent. So in fairness to you, Sergeant, while you have made candid acceptance this morning of things that should have been done differently, that may have led to a different outcome, they weren't picked up on the face of it by your sergeant in supervising the outcome.
No, that's right.
Post-closure, a number of matters there. At the strategy meeting, I think you've given the indication that it was not going to be the case that he was taken up by Prevent at the strategy meeting on the 6th.
Yeah.
And I think you informed local authority and mental health professionals, Ms. Lewis of the school, were they via that means informed of that?
Yes.
Did you consider flagging for Lancashire Constabulary that given that he wasn't going to be taken on by Prevent, that there might be a case for them becoming involved again?
I didn't see how I could do that. I didn't have anything like on the systems where I felt that I had the opportunity to share that information. I felt I'd shared it with the partners that were currently involved and remaining involved with him. I didn't feel there was a platform for me to do that.
And one analysis, that's understandable because Lancashire Constabulary weren't at the 6th of January meeting because it seems they'd had no actions from the previous meeting. So one understands how that meeting itself was not a good forum for you to make suggestions to Lancashire Constabulary. But in terms of multi-agency handling of this, would you accept that the closure to Prevent was not because matters in relation to AR weren't concerning. They were concerning, but the assessment was it's not for Prevent. And it might be thought there was still a role for police in managing the risk. Obviously, Merseyside police are dealing with the conviction, but he was living in Lancashire. You could have just emailed back to the Lancashire officers, couldn't you, to say, we're closing for this reason, but there is material of concern here. The early action team or the community safety team might want to pick him up again.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Thank you. I won't go to it, but we have seen that there is a potential for different types of flag to be put on the PNC as an indication of interest by Prevent, all right? Please don't go into exactly what the markers are. Did you consider using that even though he wasn't going to be taken on to Prevent? Because,
I didn't, no.
Given that it was made clear that if there was further information of concern, the agencies could come back to Prevent, do you think the use of that marker might have been useful so far as the police were concerned to say, well, we haven't taken him on, but this is somebody that we've looked at?
It may have been, but it's not something that I took into consideration.
You set out in your statement, and we have the records, that post-closure reviews were done for this referral at both the 6 and the 12-month stage. Is that right?
Yes.
And have I understood your statement correctly that you would have checked the PNC and you would have checked Lancashire Police's Connect system to see if there was any information of relevance?
Yes.
I don't think you did see anything of relevance when you did those updates.
No.
You weren't aware of any further criminality?
No.
Would you accept, though, that that was an opportunity, if you were reviewing the file, in inverted commas, to spot that there were, in fact, outstanding actions from the first referral, so the VSH and the internet browsing history?
Potentially, but that's not something that I looked at as part of my checks. I did the checks that you've mentioned. The
checks were limited. You didn't go back through the whole case again. You ran some checks to see if anything further had happened. Would that be a fair summary?
I think my understanding was, because it had been closed, that any outstanding actions would have been completed prior to closure.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to turn now to the later referrals, which we can deal with more briefly. So far as the second referral is concerned, February 2021, could we look at it, please? It's CTPNW 30126. So we see the date of it, the 1st of February 2021. Could we just go over the page, please? It's coming from Jan Lewis again. Thank you. And over the page again, please. So the referral said this: I hope this email finds you well. I'm not sure if either of you are involved with AR anymore. If you are, I just wanted to draw the two attachments copied from AR's Instagram account to your attention. Still in contact with pupils from our school, one of whom brought this to our attention. So this, in fact, is passing on what's been received by Mr. Krugian back at the Range School. Although there's nothing strikingly dangerous in this message, it contains some details regarding Colonel Gaddafi, which might raise some potential radicalisation concerns, particularly if AR has been posting or discussing other similar material. So that was Mr. Krugian's email. You can see how he signed it off. And then Joe Hodson, acting head of Acorns, confirmed that AR was still on the roll at Acorns, and Jan Lewis had contacted Prevent and advised to re-refer AR to you. He was previously referred to Prevent after the Range High School had shared concerns with Acorns School regarding possible radicalisation and what he was looking at online and discussing just before he was permanently excluded. All right, over the page, please. And then we see the posts. Just note that what appears to be AR's Instagram handle or address is on the screenshot there. And we can see that it's discussing the position of Gaddafi. And over the page, please. So it's not itself referring to extremism or supporting extremism, this post. It's a discussion about, putting it very high level of generality, the pros and cons of Gaddafi as a politician. Would you agree?
Yes.
Thank you. That can come down from the screen. One point I want to take up relatively briefly is that when we look at the Prevent Case Management tracker, in this case, AR's surname is spelt wrongly, and I think you're aware of that.
Yes.
Yes. You say in your statement that that wouldn't have had any effect because that the wildcard systems would allow for him to be caught simply in a search because you would come up with a very close match to the name. Is that your general understanding?
Yes.
I think you'll be aware that your supervisor, who we'll hear from next, indicated at the closure stage of this referral that she couldn't find the first referral. And that's something which we'll take up with her But to your understanding, that wouldn't have affected people searching on the database for information about AR?
No, I think in relation to her comment, it was IT issues that she was experiencing due to working between Cumbria and Lancashire. I don't think that it would have had any effect, and I dealt with all of the referrals as well.
All right. Just this. Again, I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I think in both the second and the third referrals where this happened, those who had made the referrals had spelt AR's surname correctly. Do you know how it came to be that on the tracker they were misspelt?
I don't know.
Whose responsibility is it to open the tracker and to enter the name of the person being referred?
It would be me.
Is it likely that that was a slip by you?
Yes, slightly, yes.
Thank you. If we look at, and remember please the care with names, Officer A, in this case, if we look at CTP NW 30140, please. He's saying, please find attached the referral and my assessment for recording in this case. And if we go over the page, please, we see at the top right could be enlarged, please. Subject has been previously referred to prevent. The outcome of that referral was that he did not have any CTDE ideology or vulnerable to radicalization. I've reviewed this new referral, which refers to 2 posts he's made on his Instagram page, which relate to Gaddafi and discusses whether he was that bad. I have searched for and unable to find any Instagram page associated to him. Just pausing there, did that strike you as surprising as an assessment, given that AR's Instagram address was on the very post that had been forwarded in the referral?
It didn't surprise me because he might have closed the account down or something. I don't know, but it didn't.
Did you question it?
No.
Likewise, I found no social media accounts in his name. The Instagram post he's made are screenshots from a website back from November 2011, is when the original of the article was. It does not appear that the subject was the author of this report. As such, I do not believe this new intelligence is worthy of a new Prevent referral, as I do not assess it would meet the thresholds for adoption at Channel, and the content does not suggest he holds any extremist ideology, but rather an opposing opinion on Gaddafi's Libyan regime, questioning the US and EU motivation for removing him. Yes?
Yes.
What did you make of that assessment?
I took that into account when I was making my decision about whether I felt this told me any new information, and I didn't feel that it did. I felt the behaviours were the same as in the previous referral. The fact that it was looking at things like this through links that of things that he was just interested in, it didn't flag anything up to me that made me think that I needed to do any more sort of information gathering.
If we could look at LCC 001526, please. Thank you. And if we could just go to page 3. We see that you contacted Acorn School in relation to this. Is that right?
Yes.
And we can see you, again, Sergeant Thompson, in terms of taking proactive steps, you emailing Mrs. Lewis, tried to call you today, but you're not available. Just contact you in relation to the referral for AR. Just wanted to check that there were no further concerns other than the information from the previous school in relation to the Instagram posts, and then you give a sign-off. And in fairness to you, that seems to be you saying, okay, so this previous school has forwarded these concerns on and you've sent them on. Can I check that you don't have any further information to provide? Is that a fair reading of what you were doing there?
Yes.
And if we look at the top of page 3, we see that what came back to you from Mrs. Lewis, and this is something that we'll pick up with the Acorn School in due course. Good afternoon, Carmen. Apologies that I wasn't available to speak with you today, as I'm working from home. In relation to AR, we have no further concerns at this time. I've copied Maggie Allred, who is the high support tutor, into this email. And in relation to the Instagram post, there is a possibility of he could have written the actual post as it appears to be in his style of writing in relation to his ASD. And I think you would have got from Officer A that that wasn't the case because the article was actually written in 2011, yes?
Yes.
If we go on to page 2, what Maggie Allred, the high support teacher, went on to say, not to you on the face of the emails, is at the top. I assume there was a concern. I am concerned as I think he may not be active, but he could easily be radicalised and would be a huge risk if this happened. The risk would be very real of harm to others. Can I chat to you about it tomorrow and see what we think? All right? Now that's an Acorn exchange that's going on separate to the reply to you. Was that concern expressed by Maggie Allred ever brought to your attention?
No.
Would it have made a difference if that concern expressed in that way had been drawn to your attention?
I would have explored it further, yes.
In terms of information gathering, apart from the contact with the school that we've seen here and your exchange with the FIMU, did you do anything else to explore what may be going on or the risk factors? Did you have contact with any other agencies or make any other inquiries?
I was under the understanding that if there were any other concerns that I needed to be aware of, then agencies knew to recontact me. I didn't reach out to anyone to ask that information. I relied on the duty under the prevent duty that agencies would let me know if there was anything else. Excuse me.
Would it have been better practice, given that one agency had raised a concern, proactively to check in with the other agencies, do you think?
I felt from the information in that referral at that time, speaking to the school was sufficient.
You said in paragraph 49 of your statement, page 11, sir, for your note, that you thought that appropriate arrangements and support were in place from the other agencies. How did you know that that was the case? This is now February 2021, so more than a year later. How did you know that support networks that were in place were sufficient to deal with the risks?
I would have thought that if they weren't sufficient, then again people would be raising concerns either from who's working with him or through the school. So I can't say I absolutely knew, but I knew from attending that original meeting what the plan was and the agencies that were supporting him.
It may be thought from this referral that in some senses, and please disagree with me if you think that this is unfair, that what it came to on this referral is that this doesn't take us any further, that this is not sufficiently significant as a further piece of information to change the earlier assessment.
It didn't change the earlier assessment, no.
Do you think that a shortcoming in the dealing with the second referral may have been that it was seen as that question, does this take us any further? Is this top-up information is it significant, rather than a thorough further look at AR.
I didn't feel that I needed to make any further inquiries because I didn't feel that there was any need to at that time.
I understand. And again, I don't challenge the good faith of your thinking at the time, that you looked at this, you got advice on it from the FIMU, you checked with the school, and you didn't think that further inquiries were required. But looking at it now, would you accept, given the issues that I've explored with you in relation to the first referral, there was a missed opportunity here, because looking at the whole case again as a whole might have brought to light that there hadn't been any support or input from the Vulnerability Support Hub, and you still didn't know what the internet school history might show, and there were still those issued about disguised compliance, that those could have been picked up at this stage, the shortcomings in how the first referral had been dealt with. Is that fair?
It's fair with everything that we know now, yes.
Even with everything that was known at the time, because I'm not within that bringing up any hindsight issues of later knowledge, you've candidly accepted that some things were not as strong as they should have been in the first referral. And I'm simply putting to you that if the whole case had been looked at again on the second referral, that was an opportunity to pick it up, even with the knowledge that was known at the time.
Yes, it would have been.
Thank you. Again, there was a post-closure review at 6 months, and your supervisor agreed with the assessment to close. Yes?
Yes.
In terms of the agencies that were involved, could we just look briefly at Ms. Hodgson's own witness statement, that LCC 201773, please? And could we go, please, Sarah, to page 43? It's paragraphs 164 to 166. So right at the bottom of the page. She says this: the 3 referrals to Prevent made by Acorns do not appear to have been taken seriously and were treated as low risk. Only a result of the first referral was a home visit carried out to speak to AR and his family. From my experience, AR's family provided a good impression on first meeting, and I suspect that is how they came across during, just go over the page, during the home visit from Prevent, and was taken at face value. No mentorship was offered by the Prevent team following any of the referrals. This was done in school by Mrs. Allred. No other support was offered by any of the other agencies. The second referral was not followed up at all by Prevent. Although our concerns could have been stated more robustly, the Prevent officer dealing with the second referral was aware of and had dealt with the first referral. Throughout the CPOM's record, you can see our expectation and understanding that Prevent were dealing with this and were in contact with AR. We thought that this was why he was not engaging with us as well as he'd done previously. And on the 25th of February 2021, Janet Lewis logged the following as an action on CPOMs: continue to be consistent with the approach, both with parents and then something log, anything of concern. Prevent will have followed up my referral that was made regarding his Instagram post. This might have caused some issues within the home. And then the comment is made by Ms. Hodgson, the witness: we did not know that this was not the case with Prevent. So that seems to be a concern raised by the then acting head of the Acorn School, that they weren't even told of the outcome of this second referral, and that they were labouring under the misapprehension that Prevent were dealing with AR. Is there anything you want to say in light of that concern?
I would have thought that I would have updated them, as I regularly went into the school on other matters, but I can't say that I've sent an email or had a discussion, because I honestly can't remember.
And more generally, I'm not going to go through other paragraphs of this statement, but the concern is raised by Ms. Hodson that she doesn't feel that Prevent gave enough weight to their role as a specialist pupil referral unit, who were having day-to-day contact with AR and were concerned about his ongoing behaviour. Do you think there might be some force in those observations by her?
No, because teachers spend more time, that child is at school more time than they're spending at home with parents, so they're best placed to, raise any concerns or notice any change in their behaviours. But I've gone off the information that was referred through to Prevent. I can only go off the information that I'm told. So with regards to the concerns that the other teacher had, I was not aware of those concerns, and they'd not been passed on to me.
The difficulty with the time that the child spends with parents at home is that one needs to be professionally sceptical about parents proactively raising concerns with Prevent. Would you agree?
Yes, yeah.
And so the concerns of the school become all the more important.
The concerns of the school are very important.
If we turn then to the third referral, please. So this is also in early 2021, the 21st of April, CTPNW 30137, please. So again, coming from Acorn's School, and I wonder, Sarah, if you could just highlight for me, please, the totality of the box that's in the lower part of the screen. So again, I will read the totality of this because it's potentially an important document. So AR was using the computer to look at his English work, BBC Bite Size. As Mrs. Allred came closer to the screen, she noticed two other web pages were open with the words London Bridge. At no point had Mrs. Allred seen him look at these pages. AR quickly closed them before anything else could be seen. Mrs. Allred asked what AR had been looking at. He said he was reading the news about the recent bomb that had been planted on London Bridge, and he was reading the news. Mrs. Allred asked AR what he knew about it, and AR spoke in detail about the IRA, about how it began, and the occupation, inverted commas, of Northern Ireland in the 1600s by the British, and that is what started the conflict in Northern Ireland. Mrs. Allred said she is pleased he is interested in history and global politics as long as he's looking at reliable websites, as there are a lot of sites that say inaccurate things and he needs to get a balanced view. AR said that he understood and said that he reads The Guardian. AR then went on to talk in great detail about the conflict between Israel and Palestine and his views on this, and that some reasons for the conflict are justified in his opinion. He said that the MI5 had been asked to kill people in the IRA, and Mrs. Allred said it's unlikely, and AR clarified the news and said that MI5 had been asked to, quote-unquote, take them out, which Mrs. Allred clarified is different. AR said there are always two sides to a story. Mrs. Allred said that it is important that AR isn't being influenced by anyone to believe an ideal, and asked if he understood about radicalisation. Mrs. Allred said if he's ever speaking to someone who says that they have all the answers, to not trust anybody, but then that is not safe. Mrs. Allred reminded AR to make safe choices and not do anything that promotes violence in any way, as he knows what the consequences of that are. AR made no comment but nodded as though he understood. Mrs. Allred asked would he be interested in a job as a journalist, and AR said no. It was clear by AR's conversation he had read a lot about the history and current politics of these conflicts and had formed strong opinions about what was right. His conversation was animated and passionate, as though these topics are of great interest to him. So that was the concern form, wasn't it, that came in for the third referral? Yes?
Yes.
If we look at CTPNW 30143, please. We'll see on this occasion, I think, from DC Aspinall, the assessment that was done on this by FIMU. We see CT relevance starting at the bottom of the page. Current pupil at the school in Ormskirk. Prior to this, he was excluded from the range in Merseyside for bringing a knife into school, speaking about school massacre shootings, and so on. So that's repeating the previous information. Then if we go over the page, please. He continues to detail that further information, talks about a further concern was highlighted in February 21, which is the second referral. And then he says that was shared, briefly managed under the previous reference and written off once more again as no CTDE. This new reporting comes once again from Acorn School, whereby the concern highlighted comes from AR viewing news documents about the London Bridge attacks. He also spoke with his teacher about Israel and Palestine and had a conversation around MI5 and the IRA. Yes?
Yes.
So that was the assessment. Could we go down the page a little bit, please? Bottom of page 2. AR was assessed back in 2019. It was assessed as not meeting the threshold. There was obviously a local authority MASH-led intervention leading to him being excluded. The ongoing advice to staff has always been to refer should they feel that he shows any vulnerabilities going forward. This can sometimes lead to knee-jerk referrals, this one being highlighted in case. I do not assess the comments made by the subject in this instance to evidence he displays extremist views. In fact, he, if we can go over the page, has commented that there are always two sides to a story. He has an interest in current affairs, can be attributed to his ASD diagnosis. He refers to the awaited EHCP plan. I think that this referral has been done with the best intentions, which comes as a result from the initial issues when at the range. But I do not feel this new reporting holds any CTDE vulnerability and only highlights an interest in world news and current affairs. That reference to knee-jerk reaction, I think you would agree is discomforting now to read.
Yeah.
You say in your statement that it's not language that you would have used and you don't agree with it. Is that right?
Yes.
And would it be right that the reason why you don't agree with it is that the whole point was that agencies, most particularly the schools, should have been reporting in further concerns and had positively been encouraged to do so?
Yes.
And there shouldn't therefore be any sense of denigrating such contributions following that advice as a knee-jerk reaction, yes?
Yes.
Particularly if what has been put forward is an extensive discussion around the IRA, London Bridge bombing, MI5, and the Palestine-Israel conflict. Yes?
Yes.
Would you agree with this, that even though that was, if you like, a political discussion, it was not insignificant, it was not irrelevant?
No, it wasn't irrelevant.
To the risks for AR. Because if what should have been happening was a careful focus on the extent to which AR may have had a fascination with violence, the fact that he had been spending a lot of his time researching those matters and reading about those matters was actually directly relevant, wasn't it?
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
If what should have been happening was a careful focus on the extent to which AR may have had a fascination with violence, the fact that he'd been spending a lot of his time researching those matters was directly relevant to his risks.
It could do, yeah.
What weight it was given is a different question, because he wasn't here on the face of it, particularly indicating any sympathy as such, beyond saying there's two sides to every story. But it was relevant information for the school to pass on any view.
Yes.
And perhaps the significance, and I'm not suggesting that the information in the third referral was as significant as the first referral, but perhaps the significant was that all of these items that he was talking about, the IRA, London Bridge, MI5, Israel and Palestine, they were all about conflicts of violence. Yes?
Yes.
And he looking at London Bridge, which in modern times one would associate with Islamist extremist attacks, the fact that he was then jumping to the IRA, when the IRA historically had targeted London Bridge in the 1980s, if that had been thought about, that might have been an indication about how much time AR was spending looking at these events. Do you agree?
Yes.
And so the indication that these were relatively minor matters of concern, as I think it was expressed at one stage by DC Aspinall, do you think that in the context of trying to look at the case as a whole, that was both unfair to the Acorn School, but also not treating this quite as seriously as it should have been?
I think it was treated, seriously. We looked at the information and considered it. I don't agree with the terminology of knee-jerk reaction because the school were doing what they'd been advised to do.
Again, in relation to this referral, would it be fair to say that the general approach was a thinking that it didn't add very much, but it didn't lead to a full reassessment of the whole case of AR?
Yeah, it didn't lead to a reassessment, and thinking about it now, it may have been better practice to revisit.
Thank you. But again, in fairness to you, if and to the extent that that shows that there was a shortcoming in how you, as a police constable in Prevent, were assessing matters, it wasn't picked up by your supervisor, because I think, again, your recommendation for the closure of the third referral was approved by your sergeant.
Yes.
May I just turn briefly to some concluding matters, please, Sergeant Thompson, with thanks for your patience in my questioning. Could we just look, please, at page 21 of your statement? It's paragraph 94. You say there that you were never made aware of an incident involving AR on the 17th of March 2022. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
By this time, you'd left your role in Prevent, as you've told us. You say, I don't feel I can comment on whether the circumstances would have triggered a referral to Channel. Sergeant Thompson, I'm going to press you just a little bit on that, if I may, because you were the CTCO who dealt with the 3 referrals, right? But I appreciate that it's a hypothetical. But if it had been reported as a fourth referral made by Lancashire Police, that on the 17th of March, AR had gone missing from home, had taken a small kitchen knife, was found on a bus in possession of that knife, which he had down his pants, that he hadn't been arrested, but that when he was taken from the scene, and he hadn't threatened anybody with the knife at the scene, but when he was taken from the scene to home, he said in the car that the reason that he'd had the knife was that he wanted to stab someone. And the reason that he wanted to do that was he wanted to get his internet, matters on the internet taken down on social media accounts. And he thought that committing a serious offence was the best way to do that. And he'd also indicated in the same context that he had thought about making poison. And that his mother had gone on to say that he had mentioned poison to her on a previous occasion. If those matters were in a fourth referral, would that likely have led to the case being put to Channel?
Yes.
Thank you. Was there a reason, forgive me for asking, was there a reason why you said in paragraph 94, I don't feel I can comment on whether these circumstances would have triggered a referral to Channel?
I think I was referring to the fact that it's a while ago since I worked in Prevent, and I wasn't really understanding of the new policies and things that are in place at the time that you're referring to.
Thank you. On each of the three occasions when you made a recommendation that the Prevent referral shouldn't be taken forward and should be closed, and that was approved by your sergeants, who did you understand was the lead agency for assessing and addressing the risks that AR did pose? Out of the multiple agencies, who was the lead agency who held the lead responsibility for that?
I feel like police had the majority of the responsibility in relation to the offences that he was arrested for. They would have had responsibility for managing risks to the public. And I also feel that the school as well. I did feel that there were other agencies involved to address his needs, but I think there may have been a failure for information sharing.
Why do you feel there may have been a failure for information sharing? What leads you to say that?
Because I feel that nobody really had responsibility for him or felt that they had responsibility. I feel that police should have been involved due to the criminality side of it and the risks that it posed to the public. Thank you.
Sergeant Thompson, in paragraphs 98 through to 104, particularly at 104, you give both reflection on events and some matters that you raise for the chairman to think about in terms of recommendations for the future based on a thoughtful assessment of your own training. I'm not going to take you through those, but your evidence will stand in relation to those as you've carefully set them out in your statement. Is there anything else that you would like to add that I haven't covered?
I don't think so, no.
I'm just going to turn to my left to see if there's any questioning from any of those who put in notices. I'm seeing shaking of heads.
It's been a long day for you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your assistance. It's been of considerable help.
Thank you.
You're free to go.
Thank you.
So I'm very grateful. I'm sorry, that's important evidence. I'm sorry it took some time. I've checked in particular with our stenographer, for whom I think we must, I've been pressing her hard, I'm afraid. Could we ask for a 10-minute break, just to give the stenographer a break?
It's a perfectly reasonable request. Thank you. I'll sit again at just before 3 o'clock.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Please have a seat.
Mrs. Trahan, could you give your full name, please?
My name is Rachel Judith Trahan.
Thank you. If you need to take a minute, just say. Can we have up on screen, please, CTP Northwest 30177? Thank you. And over the page. Mrs. Trahan, do you recognise this as your witness statement?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And we saw from the first page it's dated the 21st of August 2025, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. And is it true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
It is.
Thank you. I just want to start by asking you questions about your police career. You joined, I think, Cleveland Police in 1992, working predominantly as a uniformed police officer. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
Then you joined Cumbria Police in 2014 in the Criminal Investigation Department and Public Protection Unit.
I did, yes.
You began working for Prevent as a counter-terrorism case officer in November 2018.
That's correct.
And then you were promoted to a Prevent supervisor in January of 2021.
Correct, yes.
So you'd been in role as a supervisor for about a month at the time of AR's second Prevent referral that we're going to come to, and 3 to 4 months by the time of the third Prevent referral. Is that right? Thank you. You left Prevent in 2022 and retired in April of this year.
I did, yes.
Thank you. You tell us in your statement that you have extremely limited recollection of the specifics of the case, and you had no direct memory of your involvement in AR's referrals until the inquiry contacted you. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
You were involved in those second and third referrals in February to May of 2021, so over 4 years ago.
Yes.
But have you been able to review the documentation around those referrals?
I have, yes.
Thank you. Can I start by asking you about the Prevent team structure? At the relevant time, you were one of 2 detective sergeants in the Prevent team.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. You acted as what was called a Prevent supervisor, and that was to 8 to 10 CTCOs. Correct?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. And you were overseen by a detective inspector in the team.
That's correct.
You tell us at your paragraph 21 that the team was busy in dealing with a relatively high volume of cases, but you considered it to be quite well resourced.
Yes, that's correct. We were probably one of the busiest stations within the collaboration, maybe slightly less than GMP, who maybe had more resources, but on the whole we were very busy.
Okay, so you were part of CTP Northwest, but is this right, you were dealing with the Lancashire region?
Lancashire and Cumbria.
Lancashire and Cumbria, and which areas were you based in primarily?
So I was a Cumbria officer seconded, and so worked across both areas. So we tried to split it fairly, the region, so that I was kind of like part of Lancashire and Cumbria.
Thank you. And can you just give us an idea of what your role as a Prevent supervisor involved?
So it's, we had numerous referrals coming in around people that were vulnerable to radicalisation, and it was my role to supervise the counter-terrorism CTCOs, along with the other sergeant, with a view to, I suppose, in a nutshell, trying to ensure that we dealt with people, reduced the risks, to stop them moving into the terrorist space.
Did that involve allocating cases to CTCOs?
It did, yes.
And would you look to allocate repeat referrals to the same CTCO if you could?
Yes, they were split sort of geographically within the regions.
Was it your job to quality assure CTCO's decisions? So you would, for example, approve the closure of a prevent referral?
Yes.
And could there be cases where you pushed back on a CTCO's recommendation, for example, to ask for further information or say that this case actually is one that should be going onward to Channel?
Yes, I would say generally we were quite a close-knit team in that we would regularly discuss referrals, what we thought. There were some great experienced officers within the team, so we regularly discussed cases and asked one another what they thought.
And you can't recall the specifics of your interactions with PS Thompson in relation to these referrals, but I think you tell us you discussed cases regularly with her. Yes,
and on a sort of weekly basis or daily basis, we'd be looking at sort of what referrals there were, what was happening, and making sure that they were actioned in line with the policy.
Thank you. You did the, turning now to your training and policies, you completed the National Prevent Foundation course in April 2019, is that right?
That's right, yes.
So you'd started as a CTCO in November 2018. It took you quite some time to do that training, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we heard evidence from PS Thompson that she was in a similar position. It doesn't need to be pulled up, but you've given a list of other relevant training you've done at paragraph 30 of your statement.
Yes.
Thank you. There are just two policies that I want to ask you about specifically. One is, well, I say policy, the letter, a joint letter of the 25th of June 2019 from the Director of Prevent at the Home Office and the National Coordinator for Prevent at CTP. Are you aware of that letter?
Yes, that's the letter referring to mixed and unclear ideology.
That's quite right, Mrs. Trahan. We've had that document up a number of times. I'm not going to put it up for you, but is it right? Have you had the opportunity to see that?
At some point in my time in counter-terrorism, yes, I was made aware of it.
Thank you. I think you said in your statement, paragraph 58, that you don't recall whether you specifically actually received or viewed a copy of the letter. Is that right?
I've got no memory of it. I just remember it being something that I was aware of, and obviously some of the referrals as a counter case officer and as a supervisor had the theme of mixed and unclear ideology and were referred through to the Channel process.
So you were aware of the substance that are about mixed or unclear ideologies, and that could form the basis of a referral to Channel, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
What about interest in school shootings or mass casualties?
Yes, that was mentioned.
As a Prevent supervisor, do you think that you should have been given a copy of the letter?
I may have been given a copy of the letter. I've just got no recollection of it. So it may be the case that I have been provided with it. I can't say from memory.
Thank you. At your paragraph 59, you tell us that the concept of mixed or unclear ideology was less understood in that it was an emerging and new area. Can you just help us with that? Are you able to expand?
So I think what I mean by that is, so for example, when some of the referrals went into Channel, I do recall being quite frustrated that they didn't get adopted at panel. And so for that reason, I would say there was probably less, I think looking at the figures as well, there was less, by comparison to other ideologies, that was kind of the lesser Sorry, I'm struggling to get my words out here, but the percentage-wise, that was less.
Thank you. And when you say percentage-wise, you're talking about referrals that have gone past the PGA, the gateway assessment, have been put forward to the channel panel, but the channel panel have not adopted it.
Or not specifically to channel, but sort of in general. I remember something about mixed and unclear ideology wasn't on a par percentage-wise with the others.
And was it therefore your view that it wasn't being picked up as well as it should be?
I can't remember what I thought then, but obviously I've seen those figures from somewhere.
Okay, but of course there's one possibility that the figures are low because it was less prevalent, and the other possibility that the figures are low because it was prevalent but not being picked up.
Correct.
Are you able to help with which? It sounds like you were thinking that it was the latter. Is that right?
Do you know what? I don't know.
You also refer in your statement to the dynamic investigation framework, which I think was a set of criteria that CTCOs would use to help them with the gateway assessment. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Were you familiar with that document?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Just to paraphrase some of the things in it, is it right that it, for example, at page 6, and so for your notes, CTP Northwest 30259.
Thank you.
Said that ASD traits can either be risk of protective factors, depending on the subject and their unique, could either be risk or protective factors, depending on the subject and their unique circumstances. In some contexts, people with ASD may be more vulnerable to radicalization and violent extremism. Were you aware of that?
Yes. So am I meant to be able to see this on the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. So CTP NW 30259. Thank you. Page 6. Thank you, and I'm looking in the middle of the page. The middle paragraph, thank you very much. 4, and then subsection 1. Do you see that section on autistic spectrum disorder?
I do, yes.
Thank you. And would you have been familiar with that when you were working as a supervisor?
Yeah, I was very aware of that.
Thank you. If we go, please, to page 7. Thank you. We see at the bottom the section on ideology. If we could just have that expanded. Thank you very much. And sorry, if we could then go over the page to the subsections and just magnify the top. Thank you. And do you see under ideology at number Roman numeral 10, it refers to a concerning fascination with the tactics of terrorism, mass killings, or school massacres per se, in the absence of a unifying ideology or narrative reason for this interest. May also be indicative of a subject who requires support through PREVENT. The context needs to be explored around this interest. An obsession like this, combined with complex needs or grievances, may be suggestive of a higher risk subject. Explore and explain circumstances. Did you know about that section when you were working as a supervisor?
Yes, I did.
If we could go to page 10, please. And just expand the intent section. Roman numeral 5, has the subject shown a particular fascination, openly or in private, with mass killings, e.g. school massacres or terrorist attacks, or the tactics used in them? This could be an obsession with the attackers or terrorists themselves. Consider the wider context in this fascination in relation to the subject's baseline behaviours. Something you're aware of?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. And then finally, if we could go to page 10, sorry, at the bottom, I think, of page 10. Thank you. So we see the section there, internet use and social media leakage, and then overleaf, please. At B, Roman numeral 1, it says, consider the subject viewing or downloading extreme or real, in inverted commas, and very graphic, violent imagery. Were you aware of something that would be of concern to prevent?
Yes.
Thank you. Just to put this into context, the dynamic investigation framework underpinned the gateway assessment. Is this right? The gateway assessment was the kind of fundamental first decision that would be made by CTCOs and also approved by you.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. In terms of your training and induction as a supervisor, I think you accept in your statement that in hindsight you would have benefited from more of an induction at the beginning of your role. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's right. From a point of view that when I moved back into Prevent as a supervisor, I just kind of got on with the job and sort of, again, tried to do the best I could.
Did you have training on the process of supervision, for example, approving that police gateway assessment?
Well, I'd already had some training previously in relation to Prevent, so when I went into the department again, I had a good idea around what I was doing.
So you knew how to make the decision yourself. Were you given expectations on how to supervise and approve a decision?
I didn't get any supervisory course when I first went back in, no.
So you say in your statement, it's paragraph 112, you started the job and found your way, but if there'd been more training at the outset, it would have been really helpful.
It would have been really helpful, yes. I think I'd have been up to speed quite a lot quicker.
Can I ask you now about the FIMU? Were you familiar with the difference in the assessments that the FIMU would make and Prevent would make when looking at a Prevent referral?
Can you just repeat the question, sorry?
Yeah, so I'm asking about the different ways that the FIMU might look at the contents of a Prevent referral and a Prevent officer might look at a Prevent referral. Was there a difference?
Yeah, absolutely, there was a difference. They had their set of criteria, and I couldn't quote you right now exactly what they were, but they were looking at referrals from a point of view. Before they came to us, they needed to be deconflicted, so they had numerous checks that they had to do, I guess, to make sure that they weren't moving into already in the terrorist space. So they did their own assessments.
And in relation to ideology, was there a difference in approach between the FIMU and Prevent?
Can you just repeat that one, sorry?
Yeah. So was there when considering the ideology of someone that had been referred to Prevent, would Prevent officers and a FIMU officer take a different approach?
Yeah, absolutely. We had our own assessment to do and they had their own assessment to do.
Fine. So we saw the guidance about violence, obsession, mass killings. Is that something that was an issue for Prevent but wouldn't have been relevant to a FIMU officer thinking about a counter-terrorism investigation?
I don't know. That's something you'd have to ask FIMU.
Could we have up, please, page 14 of your statement, paragraph 52. So you talk about having regular interaction with the FIMU. You say when you first started working with Prevent, so as a CTCO, I assume, you weren't entirely clear on FIMU's role and how that work sat alongside the Prevent team's work. And you say, I felt there was some confusion about the separation of roles and responsibilities after observing how the processes worked in dealing with a prevent referral. And you felt the FIMU team were directing the prevent team in terms of case handling, and I had questions about that which I raised with DI Mangan at the time. Do you know when that was?
It must have been quite early on when I first started back as a supervisor, because I do remember taking exception and having a conversation with somebody in the FIMU, and I can't remember who it was, around, if you're going to be directing us, why have we even got a prevent team? At that point, raised it with Mr. Mangan. But on the whole, I was aware that, they had separate role to us, and I think I needed to understand better their role so that I could do my job better. And at one point, I did sit down with the sergeant in FIMU just for him to go through some things with me.
So did you say that that was after you'd started as a supervisor, so at some stage in 2021?
Yes.
And are you able to remember what it was that you felt needed to be explained to you, or what it was in your understanding that you needed help with?
So there was I needed help with the NCIA and around sending that out, and that was just kind of like process for me and to get a better understanding. And then around checks as well, I think we wanted to have, it was almost like I wanted a handover package from them, because there was a bit of duplication in that they would do the checks, and then I wasn't quite clear on all the checks that they did, so I wanted clarification on that.
But you do say that you had a good working relationship with the FIMU.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to now please ask you about the second prevent referral. From paragraph 36 of your statement, you explain the chronology of that. It's page 10, please, if we could have that up. Just take this from me, Mrs. Trahan. The referral form was dated the 1st of February 2021. It was sent to the team inbox on that date and sent on to you by Sergeant McIntyre, who was the other prevent supervisor, on the 4th of February 2021. Does that sound right to you?
Yes.
And on the same day, you assigned the case to, as she was then, PC Thompson, who had completed the first referral.
That's right, yes.
Thank you. Could we have up, please, LANC 30175? And page 177. Thank you. So the date of this is wrong. Take it from me that it should be the 4th of February 2021. And we see you forwarding on to PC Thompson a new referral for you to register and review the FIMU assessment below. I know you're aware of him, so you knew that PC Thompson had reviewed AR previously.
That's right, yes.
Could we go down the page? So could we go over to the next page? Thank you. Mrs. Trahan, I think you will have been told this, but just be aware that the FIMU officer we are calling Officer A.
Yes, understand.
Not by their real name. Thank you. And we see there Officer A has sent the analysis of the referral through to the prevent email address, which clearly was picked up by Sergeant McIntyre and yourself. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. If we could look at the bottom of the page with the red writing, we have there Officer A's analysis, and we see the analysis was about posts on Instagram that AR had made about Gaddafi. Are you familiar with that now?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. It's said that it relates to Gaddafi and discusses whether that was bad on Instagram. I've searched for and unable to find any Instagram page associated with him, to him. Likewise, I've found no social media accounts in his name. The screenshots had a username at the top that came with the referral. Is it surprising to you that no social media accounts were found, given that a username was provided in the referral form? I could put this another. Oh, you're about to answer. Sorry.
No,
go ahead.
I don't know.
Fine. Is this right? Prevent officers do also make their own checks sometimes of social media.
Yes, you can do open source checks.
Would you have done that?
We did have the capacity to do it. However, if it had already been done, there probably wouldn't be a necessity to redo it so quickly, which would probably be an abuse of power. But did you say there was nothing found?
Yes, so you'll see there.
Yeah.
I've searched for and unable to find any Instagram page associated to him. Likewise, I've found no social media accounts in his name. And then you see it's clearly the Instagram posts he has made are screenshots from this website. It might be that if you're not familiar with the process, it's better to pick that up with someone else.
I did have some training, but it was a long time ago, and I do know that there was only certain social media searches that you could do. I think it was Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Thank you. Could we go over Leaf, please? And just expand the red, thank you. It doesn't appear that the subject was the author of this report. As such, I do not believe that this new intelligence is worthy of a new prevent referral, as I do not assess it would meet the thresholds for adoption at Channel, and the content does not suggest he holds any extremist ideology, but rather an opposing an opinion on Gaddafi's Libyan regime, questioning the US and EU motivation for removing. Was Officer A effectively seeking to make the gateway assessment for prevent here?
They're offering their opinion there, and it was things like this that I took exception to.
Yeah. So that wasn't Officer A's decision to make?
No.
Is there a risk where Officer A does that it will influence the CTCO?
It shouldn't, because we've got our own assessment to carry out.
Might it at least confuse the exercise?
Potentially, yes.
When you forwarded this on to PC Thompson, would you have read the contents of the email?
Yes.
There's no other emails around this, but looking at the documentation now, do you think that you could have gone back to Officer A and asked them to reword this email?
I probably could, However, that was his opinion, and this was something that I'd raised with Mr. Mangan, the DI. But it's potential that I did go back and speak to FIMU, but I just can't, I've got no memory of who it was that I spoke to.
Fine. We have no record of that or of you raising it with PC Thompson either. After this had been forwarded, the case had been assigned to PC Thompson. Is this right? She had 5 days to complete the gateway assessment.
That's right, yes.
And in that time, you wouldn't have been having day-to-day involvement in the case. Is that right? In the referral? No,
she would go away and do her assessment.
The assessment would come back and you would supervise it, correct?
That's right, yes.
Thank you. Can we have up then, please, the Prevent Case Management Tracker, which is CTP NW 30124. Thank you. And could we have up, please, page 13? So I think at the top we see part of the referral form has been copied across and put in the PCMT. Do you see that at the top?
So, which bit am I looking at? Is this the referral?
Yeah, so I think at the top we have, if you look maybe at Good Morning to You Both, about a third of the way down, we have part of the referral has been copied across into the PCMT here. Thank you. We can zoom out of that now and just look at the bottom 3 entries, please. Thank you. So we see here that the supervisor tasking review, the concern regarding the subject has been registered on the tracker and is awaiting update of the risk and threat assessment they may pose. There are then weekly checks done by PC 5905. Is that PC Thompson? Are you able to remember?
I can't remember the number, but that's not my collar number, the supervisor on that one.
Thank you. Could that be Sergeant McIntyre?
I would assume so, yes.
Thank you. So you're looking, I think, at the top left, next to the date, it says 0400, and then gives a collar number. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. And we have 2 records here. The first saying the weekly checks have been done and there's no trace on PNC, and then a correction of that later, which says no recent update. And then last update was on the 20th of February 2020 on the PNC. Do you see that there?
I've got the 9th of February.
Yes, sorry, did I give a different... sorry, yes, but the entry is saying the 20th of February 2020. So that was the last update on the PNC. Thank you. Can we go over Leaf, please? So I think we see the continued progress here. So PC Thompson sent an email to the designated safeguard lead at the school to clarify there are no further concerns. School have confirmed that there are no further concerns to add, and PGA has been submitted for closure. And then I think we see the status change rationale again with PC Thompson's 5905 collar number. Status has changed from registered to initial assessment. The subject has previously been referred to prevent and closed as non-CTDE. The new intelligence does not meet the thresholds for adoption at channel and does not suggest he holds any extremist ideology. The case is suitable for closure. just pausing there, there's a short entry here. Is this right? There would have been also a gateway assessment done at the same time?
Yes.
Thank you. And then we see status changed from initial assessment to pending closure. This has been assessed as non-CTDE by FIMU. The school will continue to support the subject and aware to re-refer to the future if relevant. I think what we're maybe missing from this is over the next page, which is the PGA. Is this right? You might have been sent a draft PGA to approve before it went up on the PCMT.
Yes, it was usually sent by email, and then I would look at it, put my, fill in my bit, and then it would be uploaded to the PCMT tracker.
Thank you. So looking at the PGA here, if we could zoom in to the top third, we see a summarise the issue from PC Thompson. So subject has previously been referred to prevent and was closed as not CTDE relevant. The subject was excluded from his previous school, The Range, in 2019. DSL has contacted his current school as the subject is still in contact with some pupils, and that should be from The Range, provided details. And then we have a reference here to the previous concerns as follows. Admitted to the Acorn School on 17th of October 2019 after a permanent exclusion from The Range after taking a knife in to injure a fellow student. He admitted to taking into The Range on 10 occasions to stab someone. There's a reference there to concerning comments during lessons, for example, asking to see a picture of a severed head, saying that the terrorist attack on the MEN was a good thing, researching school shootings in America, and then at the end, he was arrested in Merseyside as he went to his old school armed with a knife and hockey stick to assault a pupil. He has admitted the offences. And then if we look at complex needs, it says none evident at this stage, grievances, none evident at this stage. And if we could continue, please. Over the page. Thank you. So I think we see all of those headings, and is this right? Are they headings taken from the DIF?
Yes.
Thank you. If we could go over the page again, I think all the entries on that page are also non-evident at this stage. Thank you. If we look at internet and social media, we see some text there. The subject has commented on Instagram posts relating to Gaddafi. This has been assessed by FIMU as not being new intelligence, and it does not suggest he holds extremist ideology. I think the remainder, again, are non-evident at this stage. And can we go zoom out and go to the bottom? Thank you. I think we actually need to go over Leaf again. Thank you. So if we could have the body of that enlarged. So we see there, do you see about a quarter of a way down the page, the subject has previously been referred to prevent and closed due to there being no evidence of CTDE concerns. There's no updates on the police system. The school have been contacted. They don't have any initial concerns. And then the FIMU assessment is copied in there. Do you see that? With Officer A signing at the bottom.
Yes.
And then we have quite a brief rationale from PC Thompson. This referral does not highlight any new concerns and can be closed to prevent. School are aware to re-refer if there are any concerns in the future. And then I think we reach your supervisor review. I've reviewed this case and note there is a lack of information in all areas. I'm satisfied that the officer in charge has made sufficient inquiries with the original referrer and linked in with the FIMU. The concerns in this case were around posts online which were not deemed CTDE relevant. there does not appear to be any further safeguarding that's currently required, and I'm able to see any previous referral into Prevent on the PCMT, although as that has been closed and this case does not contain any CTDE concerns, and I'm satisfied that this can be closed immediately. Sorry for a long trawl through the documentation, but that perhaps shows what you would have had to go through to reach your conclusion. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I just break down, please, the matters in your supervisor comment? First of all, you say that you're unable to see any previous referral into Prevent on the PCMT. We see that there, don't we?
Yes, however, I don't know whether that's an indication really of actually my frustration at having access issues in relation to IT. So when I first joined, on day one, I spent time trying to get onto systems. I needed to have a profile built for LANC systems to enable me to get on their computer. I had my own Cumbrian laptop, but had issues when I took the Cumbrian laptop to LANCs because I couldn't access it or make it work due to the location. And then because of the issues getting onto the LANC systems, I couldn't get onto the Prevent drive, which gave me the inbox where all the referrals were sent into. So I had to always look at ways of getting around that until I could get proper access. And I can't understand why I've written that about the PCMT or why I couldn't get on the tracker, because I think, thinking back, initially I could have got onto the NCIA and tracker quite quickly, but for some reason I've had IT issues, and I accept, looking at this, that I should have provided more information. Just in relation to me saying there's a lack of information in all areas, I think it was a lack of concerns.
We'll come on to that.
Okay, sorry.
I will give you the chance to comment on that. I just want to focus on the unable to see the previous referral into Prevent.
Sorry, can I just say, I think it's an indication that I could see the concerns because they're actually evidenced in the PGA, but it was just on that particular, I think it was just a frustration at not being able to get on.
So we have a summary of that first referral that we saw at the top of the PGA that PC Thompson had given. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes. But because of tech issues, you don't think you were able to see that referral itself, correct?
Yes, I always like to see the initial referral and look at everything. So I found that quite frustrating that I couldn't and ended up having to sort of ask people to print things off for me.
We know that the spelling of AR's name in this referral was inputted differently to the first referral. Would that have been a reason why you couldn't see the previous referral on the PCMT?
No, I wouldn't have thought so, because you can search for it, and yes, I admit I should have got that corrected, and that's usually something that I would do. However, it didn't make any material difference to being able to find them.
You could have got access to that first Prevent referral, presumably by asking a colleague to access it for you. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And clearly PS Thompson had access to it because she was able to summarise it, correct?
Correct, yes.
You noted the lack of information in all areas. Presumably part of that was the extent of information you could see about the first referral.
No, because I'm, although I've got no sort of memories around specific cases, I'm pretty certain that it's not in my nature not to have made a decision without having been able to see or talk about the first one. So I'm pretty confident that I have known about the concerns because we were regularly discussing cases in the office. So I believe that I have seen the first referral and wouldn't have made a decision to close it without, but, you know...
I mean, if we look at the wording you use there at the end, I'm unable to see any previous referral into Prevent on the PCMT, although, as that has been closed and this case does not immediately contain any CTD concerns, then I am satisfied this can be closed immediately. It's quite clear from that, isn't it, that you hadn't seen it?
I just don't understand why I've not written it myself.
Not written what, sorry?
So this entry was uploaded by the other sergeant.
What? I'm not sure that actually matters to the issue we're considering, which is whether you saw the first prevent referral or not. The person that uploaded this information, we will come to that.
Okay.
But I don't think that impacts on whether you'd seen the first referral, does it?
Well, ordinarily, I would like to look at everything before I make a decision.
But on this case, we can see that you didn't, can't we?
I can only go by what's written down there, so yeah.
And based on what's written down, it suggests that you didn't see it. Is that right?
Yes.
Based on the summary that you had seen from PC Thompson, she talked about issues of online access, use of knives. Do you think from that it should have been apparent that there were significant issues in the first referral and it should have been reviewed?
Can you just repeat your question, sorry?
Yeah. Based on the summary of the first referral from PC Thompson that we saw earlier, do you agree that there was enough there to show that the first referral should have been reviewed?
Well, the first referral was reviewed by a supervisor.
Reviewed by you.
I think this was more because I couldn't get on the computer. I'm pretty sure that I've seen enough to know about the referral and all the details in the referral, because we used to sit and discuss them, and I would not. It was not in my nature, having been a detective, to not do that. And I think this was more around a frustration that I couldn't get onto the computer.
Could we have up, please, page 28 of your statement, paragraph 110? So you say, it's been repeatedly suggested to me that I did not see the previous referral, and I've considered whether I should have ensured that I could see it before authorising the closure of the second referral. I've set out above as much as I can on this matter, but would reiterate here that it's clear from the PCMT that the substance of the first referral is on record there and summarised within the body of information provided by the CTO, and then if we go over the page, in the course of the second referral. With that in mind, I'm confident I had access to the relevant facts. And then you do say, I'm also confident I would have had several discussions with PC Thompson at the time on which I've already commented. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, we have no record of those discussions, so we can't see what was said. But you were reliant, if this is right, on PC Thompson's summary of the first referral. Do you agree?
Yes.
If we could have back up on screen, please, CTP North, CTP NW 30124. Thank you. Page 15. And if we could just enlarge about a third of the way down. The previous concerns were, sorry, actually 2/3 of the way down. The subject has been researching school shootings in America and videos. Do you see at the bottom there, just above complex leads, Mrs. Trahan?
Sorry, I'm just having trouble hearing you because of the echo. So I am sorry.
Let me take a sip of water as well. Do you see the section above complex needs?
Yeah, it needs to be moved up slightly, sorry.
That section, could we just enlarge
yes.
that? So, he went to his old school armed with a knife and hockey stick to assault a pupil. He's admitted the offences. That wording's not entirely clear, but it doesn't say that an assault actually took place, does it?
No.
But we know now that it did. And PC Thompson had also attended a meeting in December, and we've heard her evidence that it included information that, first of all, an assault was carried out, that it was carried out not on the person that AR said was bullying him, but on another student, that AR had said he wasn't going to get in trouble for nothing, and that in the aftermath he said that he intended to use the knife and was intending to kill. If you were working on that summary only, you did not have that information, did you?
No.
And would you agree that that information renders that incident considerably more concerning?
Yeah, but can you just tell me what you said again there, sorry?
Yes, so I said that PC Thompson knew that an assault had been actually carried out, that the assault was not on the person AR alleged was bullying him, but on another student, that AR had said he wasn't going to get in trouble for nothing, and that in the aftermath he'd said he intended to use the knife and was intending to kill.
Right.
Do you agree that that is very concerning information?
That is very concerning, yes.
If you were relying on that summary, you didn't have that information, did you?
No.
Do you agree that that is information that you needed to be able to properly approve the closure of this decision? Thank you. We also saw, and we can have it up again at page 18 of this document, that in the supervisor review, you said the officer in charge had made sufficient inquiries with the original referred and linked in with FIMU. So if we look at the bottom third of that from supervisor review, and it's the second sentence, you were saying, I think, there that PC Thompson had made sufficient inquiries when completing her gateway assessment. Is that right?
Yes.
I think from the records that we went through, we saw that PC Thompson had received the FIMU referral, there'd been checks on the police systems, and there'd been an email from the school. We saw that in the log, didn't we, as we went through those records? Sorry, on the PCMT.
Yes.
Yeah. It might be said that that was a relatively limited inquiry. Would you agree?
I think, so looking at it, I'd agree with you. However, I don't necessarily know that all everything that's been done has been put onto the tracker. So every conversation. So in that respect, we could have put more on evidencing what we've done, what we've discussed.
So all the conversations in relation to the second referral had been included on the tracker, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. You weren't aware, if this record is right, of any outstanding actions from the first referral. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So we now know that there were outstanding sources of information at the time that referral was closed, which included searches on AR's device and also the provision of school browsing history. You had no awareness of that at this time, is that right?
I can't remember it, so and it's not written down, so I can't say for sure. However, yeah.
You wouldn't have said that the OIC had made sufficient inquiries with the original referrer and linked in with the FIMU if you knew that there was outstanding information, would you?
No.
And when you said it does not appear to be any further safeguarding that's currently required, apart from contact with the school, you had no wider knowledge to be able to assess that, did you?
No, but that's not unusual for it just to be school that's involved.
But you had no idea whether CAMS, for example, were involved with AR?
I can't remember, but it's not documented there.
Or police community safety team or social services?
I've not documented.
In terms of the lack of information that you referred to, were there solutions to that other than approving the closure, such as taking further steps to see the first referral?
So when I've put lack of information, I think really it was lack of concerns. I believe that I'd spoken to the officer about concerns and about this case. However, I concede that I've not documented all my considerations when I've closed it.
Yes, thank you. I mean, are you able to actually remember what you meant? Because on the face of it, lack of information could be said to suggest that you simply didn't know.
So, yeah, if it was, I can't remember, but if it's lack of information, then I would be referring it onto channel or do some more information gathering or going back. Just in relation to sort of school, I would have expected dialogue with them or conversations around, you know, any further concerns.
Which there had been.
Right.
Yeah. Moving on to the sections of the PGA, the gateway assessment, which, again, apologies for use of acronyms, but come from the DIF. One of them was grievances. The PGA said none were evident at this stage. Did you consider whether AR's issues at school, which were in the summary, could amount to a grievance?
So I think because I'd been a CTCO and because I was relatively new in the department, I was aware of sort of, actually, we could fill that in better. And I think moving on, there was a time when, once I'd become more comfortable being a supervisor, that I challenged people. We did move towards having, making sure that all previous information, all previous referrals and information was put into the PGAs. But yeah, I think because I'd had that prior knowledge, I could look at where they could fit in with regards to the different diff boxes, I suppose, and the different risks.
Just to take two other sections quickly, there was ideology, which was said to be non-evident, but in the summary there was a reference to comment about the attack at the Manchester MEN, I think that was the Manchester Arena.
Was that from the first one?
It was, but it was also
in the
summarised in the second. And there was also references to pictures, wanting to see pictures of a severed head and looking up school shootings.
However, that one had already been assessed, hasn't it, and closed off.
But shouldn't that detail have been assessed again in this police gateway?
Yes, and in relation to what was in the PGA, it was.
Sorry, it was summarised.
So it just wasn't documented in the different boxes put in. So yes, but as part and parcel of it, it was part of my assessment, the information that was there.
Okay, but the dynamic investigation framework is requiring a CTCO and, in turn, the supervisor to assess each of these headings and put the information inside, isn't it?
Yes.
We know that AR had an autism diagnosis. That wasn't, and certainly for some time was suspected of it. That wasn't, there was nothing in the complex needs section of the DIF either, was there?
No.
And it's actually not in the summary. Were you aware of that at the time?
I can't remember what I was aware of, but I believe I was.
You believe you were? Yeah. If you did know about that, did you think about whether it would be useful to have input from the Vulnerability Support Hub?
Yeah, I've worked with the Vulnerability Support Hub before and referred people to them, and they were very useful.
Are you able to say why you didn't suggest that they might assist in AR's case?
I can't say on this one.
The role on a repeat referral is to reassess the subject to the referral. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So you're still doing the same exercise of assessing whether that person is vulnerable to being drawn into terrorism, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. The way that the headings are filled in, the only one that is addressed is internet access, which relates to that referral. Do you agree?
Yes.
So there's nothing from the first referral pulled in again. Was this repeat referral being looked at holistically, or was it simply the new information was being seen as an addition to a closed referral?
No, I believe it would have been looked at holistically, because we always wanted to get the best for the end user, and if there's anything we could do to help them, even if it wasn't, we thought it wasn't prevent relevant, then we would do that.
You said that the previous entry had been closed. This case does not contain any CTDE concerns, and you were satisfied that it could be closed immediately. If we just have that up on screen again, please. CTP Northwest 30124, page 18. And bottom third of the page, please. Reading that passage, isn't that consistent with this new referral being treated as simply an addition to the last one?
It sounds it, but it's badly worded in that, I haven't written anything about vulnerability to radicalisation or being drawn towards terrorism. And I think that was indicative at the time of perhaps the way that we worded things. And certainly as I moved on with my time in Prevent, we would put that around prevent relevancy and the risk of radicalisation.
So I think you reflect quite fairly in your statement that as time went on as a supervisor, you put more detail in your supervision records. Is that right? But would you agree that looking at this note and what we have documented, it suggests that the level of supervision provided was relatively superficial?
It could have been better.
If we could just please look at the very bottom of that page 18. we see there's an entry there saying link with previous referral PCM 31490. Was that PC Thompson reading your record and linking the last referral?
So, yeah, so that, if that's her number, then yes.
So she's
She would be-
seen that you said, I can't see the first PCM, and
Oh, I don't-
she's put the...
Is that the number of the first referral?
It says link with previous referral. I have to say I haven't cross-referenced the numbers, but I assume it must be. And we will check that. But just working on the assumption that that's right. That's
Yeah, they should all be linked.
Sorry?
They should all be linked.
Yeah. And if we go over the page, please. So there's an entry here by 2399. Was that your collar number?
No.
Thank you. So it's Sergeant McIntyre who's copied your entry that we saw at the bottom of the PGA so that it's a freestanding record here again.
Presumably, yes.
Sergeant McIntyre did then have, when she copied that in, the number for the first referral, didn't she?
I don't know. I would
Well, we see
assume
that it's
so.
in the reference in the entry above.
Oh,
this
yes,
one,
sorry,
don't we?
yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, wasn't that an opportunity for either you or Sergeant McIntyre to actually go and look at that entry?
So Sergeant McIntyre, I think, was aware of the first one.
Was aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. She might have been if she'd seen the last entry on the PCMT, mightn't she?
Presumably, yes.
After the referral was closed, did you have any further involvement?
No, I don't. Not that I can recollect.
You don't remember?
No.
You don't have any records to show that you did? In terms of follow-up with, for example, the referrer, what would you expect to take place?
Telephone call. Speak with them. I would want basically the officer to reassure them, and always wanted to encourage people to refer in if there was other concerns or any new information.
Thank you. And I've just had confirmation that 31490 is the first referral. Would you ever check on what had been done after closure as a supervisor?
I think we changed it actually to that we wouldn't close it until referrers had been spoken to. But on this particular occasion, I can't remember. And
So there was a practice that the closure wouldn't happen until, you say referrers had been spoken to. There had been contact with the school.
yeah,
But do you mean telling them that you were not going to take the referral any further?
yes. But then again, it did depend upon each individual case. Usually, if it was in the kind of prevent space, the majority. Well, no, sorry. I'm just going to take a breath. Dependent on what particular case we were dealing with, it was police-led, there might be issues that we couldn't tell people, but then I would go back to the FIMU, but I would expect there to be some kind of dialogue that we were not going to be involved anymore.
And would you check that as a supervisor, whether that had taken place?
It should have been done before we closed the case.
So you should, as supervisor carrying out your closing check,
Yeah.
have seen, but we can see that didn't happen at this stage,
Yes.
correct? Moving on to the third referral, looking at paragraph 45 of your statements, Mrs. Trahan, you give the chronology there. So on 22nd of April 21, Mrs. Lewis submitted the third referral, and it regarded online content viewed during class time and subsequent conversation with the teacher about the London Bridge attack, IRA, MI5 and the Israel-Palestine conflict. And on the same day, the FIMU submitted the third referral to the Prevent team inbox, and the referral was allocated again to P.S. Thompson, correct?
Yes. I'm sorry, am I meant to be able to see this?
I'm just taking you through the chronology.
Okay,
I will
thank
take you to the referral. Before we do that, AR's name was spelt a third time on this occasion. But I think you tell us that at this stage, your paragraph 44, you had full access to the computing systems. Is that right?
Yes.
You would have been able to see the previous referrals. Were you aware that they existed on this occasion? Thank you. You didn't correct the spelling, and I think in fairness to you, in your statement, you say it's something you should have done.
Yes.
But it didn't affect the way this referral was handled. Is that right?
No, it didn't.
Could we have up, please, the email from the FIMU, which is CTPNW30143? DC Aspinall, we can use the name. Do you see the body of that email? I think the school has been advised to refer in should they feel the need to. However, I've assessed this below in red. He is ASD and waiting for an EHCP for a specialist educational placement, which I think will resolve all minor behavioural concerns. If we look then at the bottom of that page, we have DC Aspinall's writing in the rationale section, and he talks, we can see there already, about bringing a knife into school and speaking about school massacre or shooting. Would you agree that that is more than a minor behavioural concern?
Yes.
And would you also agree that DC Aspinall, as a FIMU officer, wasn't in a position to assess whether things like the ASD, the EHCP, and specialist educational placement would address minor behavioural concerns?
Yes, I'd accept that.
Thank you. We don't have any record of you challenging that. In hindsight, do you think that you should have done?
This was the kind of thing that I would raise to the boss or speak to FIMU about. But again, I've got no recollection of speaking to anybody about it.
If we could go over the page, please, we see the remainder of the analysis. Just if we could look. First of all, the background is given in the top right, which refers to the previous referral, new reporting, news documents about London Bridge attacks, etc. Spoke to a teacher, we know about that. Could we go to the bottom of the page? And we see there the summary. This can sometimes lead to knee-jerk referrals, this one being highlighted in case. I think we heard P.C. Thompson saying she wouldn't agree with that language. Would you support that?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And going over the page, please. I've gone through that relatively quickly, Mrs. Trahan, but take it from me. The summary that DC Aspinall gives refers to knives being brought into school, but doesn't say anything about AR carrying out the attack. Do you agree that any analysis of AR without that information is lacking?
Yes.
Thank you. We see that he says at the bottom, last paragraph, I do not feel that this new reporting holds any CTDE vulnerability and only highlights an interest in world news and current affairs, which is a trait of ASD. But would you agree that a FIMU officer is not looking for whether someone is vulnerable to being drawn into terrorism?
I'd agree with that.
So new reporting, do not feel new reporting holds any CTDE vulnerability has to be seen in that lens. Do you agree?
Has to be seen in that.
Within that context.
Yeah, they had a different criteria to review.
Thank you. Paragraph 46 of your statement, you tell us that on the 29th of April, PC Thompson completed the PGA and sent it to you to consider her recommendation to close the case. You said that sometimes that was sent by email, is that right?
Yes.
And you reviewed it, and the PCMT was updated then on the 7th of May with the completed PGA form, and you authorised the closure of the case. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we have up, please, CTP NW 30125? Thank you. And if we could go to page 14. So we see the PGA entry of PC Thompson, and I think we see there that she summarises the issue there. If we could go down to the bottom half of the page, please. Thank you. And I think we actually see the content of the referral given there. Complex needs, we see the reference to the ASD diagnosis over the page, please. The EHCP plan should provide the necessary support for the subject through his ongoing education. Would anyone at CTP Northwest be able to assess whether that was true or not?
The Vulnerability Support Hub would have been able to do that.
Thank you. That wording doesn't come from AR's school, and it might have been started by DC Aspinall's comments that we've seen already. Do you agree that FIMU officers and CTCOs aren't able to make that assessment?
It should probably be a health provider that gives us the information.
Gives guidance on that. And the same is true for you as a supervisor, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. If we could just go to the bottom half of that page, we see ideology non-evident at this stage. There's been mention of London Bridge, the IRA, MI5 and Israel-Palestine in the referral. Would you agree that it's possible that an ideology could have sat behind those themes?
it's possible.
And so would you have expected at least some analysis of that in this part of the form?
Yes.
Thank you. Could we move forward to page 17, please? And below standard priority, we have the analysis. PC 5905 has checked police systems and there are no updates to the report since the last referral was closed. The school have been contacted and they do not have any additional concerns other than the information reported from his previous school and the recent concern. Are you able to help us as to whether there actually had been contact with the school following the third referral? I assume that's something you're not able to...
Not from memory.
I don't think we have any other record of that, although is it possible there might have been conversations on the phone?
Yeah, I used to speak regularly to Carmen Thompson about her cases, so I was quite hot on safeguarding, but unfortunately I haven't documented everything that I have considered.
Thank you. Could we just zoom out from that section and move over the page? So I think we have there included further rationale, and I think if we look at the bottom half of the page and the paragraph starting as per previous PCM, thank you. I think we are seeing here the section from DC Aspinall copied into the PCMT. Do you recognise that wording there?
Yes.
And then the last sentence, I think, is the analysis of PC Thompson. This referral does not highlight any new concerns and can be closed to prevent. School are aware to re-refer if there are any concerns in the future. And then we have your supervisor review. I think you say you gave a bit more detail on this occasion in your statement. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. But I think you again fairly accepts that you could have given more. Is that right?
I could have given you more around my considerations. It would have helped immensely now.
Yeah. Subject displays an interest in recent London bomb and research news articles as a result. Following a conversation with teaching staff, there is context provided which shows an interest in history and current affairs. Conversations included knowledge of troubles in Israel, Palestine, IRA, London attacks. There are no extreme views or concerns of a CTDE rhetoric. I think you say in your statement that you would have revisited that use of language as you became more experienced in your role. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you just explain why?
So I do make reference further down to feeling that it wasn't a risk of radicalisation from the information provided, but I didn't think on this time there was anything I didn't believe.
So it's your paragraph 87. Perhaps we could have it up page 22. But I'm just going to paraphrase it for you whilst we load it, Mr. Hahn, that you say, you should have recorded expressly the language denoting that I was not concerned about the risk of radicalisation or vulnerability of being drawn into terrorism. And perhaps that's where we see the difference between the PREVENT analysis and the FIMUEC analysis. Would you agree?
Yes.
Was this an issue with terminology or an issue with your understanding?
No, it was an issue with writing up, and as I moved and became more experienced in what needed to be recorded, it changed, and obviously. Sorry, what was the question again?
You're saying that you should have been talking about risk of radicalisation or vulnerability of being drawn into terrorism.
Yes.
Rather than the wording you used in the entry, which was no CTDE concerns. Yes. And I'm asking whether it was the terminology that should have been improved, or if there was any confusion about the difference at the time.
No, it was the terminology.
Thank you. Could we have up back, please, that supervisor section CTP NW 30125? And it's page 18. Thank you. And the bottom third from supervisor review. Would you have read the first referral by the time you wrote this review?
Yes.
You talk about critical thinking skills when these issues were announced. The subject displays critical thinking skills. But at the time, can you remember whether at the time you associated whether those issues might show an interest in violence? Or can you help us as to whether you would have done?
I will have done, yes.
We don't see any analysis of that here, do we?
No.
And you say in the penultimate sentence, agencies already involved can raise any issues should they arise. Other than the school, were you actually aware, can you help, of any other agencies being involved? Again, there's no record of that.
No, but I will have been aware and had discussions with PC Thompson around who was involved. It definitely would have helped to have had a vulnerability support assessment at the time to get more information. However, I will have discussed it with her, what safeguarding was in place. It's just unfortunate that I haven't written it all down.
This was now the third referral from the same source. Should that in of itself meant that this referral was given more weight?
So, yes, I agree what you're saying, and it was given due consideration. I don't believe that everything I've written here is reflective of what we've done to risk assess it. Can you just say the question again, because I was just going to say something else there.
Should the fact that this was the third referral from the same source have meant that it was given more weight?
Yes, absolutely. But I genuinely didn't believe at the time that this was suitable to be referred on anymore to Channel, otherwise I would have done. What I will say is that not long after this, and certainly while I was still a supervisor in Prevent, we would have referred under the banner of third referral.
Thank you. So right, sorry, yes, so there was a policy
No, the policy wasn't in, but
But it came later.
that came later,
you-
but sort of what we were doing, if this had come in sort of later, before I'd left counter-terrorism, it would have been put through, or referred to channel, sorry.
Thank you. Ms.
However, I wouldn't necessarily, if it had been referred through, know that it would have made a difference.
I'm nearly finished, Mrs. Trahan, and I know I'm trying our stenographer's patience, but if I could just have a few more minutes just to wrap things up. PC Thompson suggested that if she'd seen the school browsing history, she would have made a referral. Do you know anything about that? Take your time.
Yes. I don't personally, but I do now, from having reviewed that might have made a difference. But also, I would have thought that school would have had safeguarding measures in place to prevent that.
You actually weren't the supervisor that approved the first referral, were you?
No.
So if a browsing history had been obtained at that stage, it wouldn't have come to you. But in general terms, if PC Thompson put through a thorough referral, which did seem to go to channel, and it didn't have any obvious issues, would you have supported it?
Yeah, potentially, yes.
You have given some improvements and recommendations at paragraphs 119 to 120 of your statement. They stand as your evidence. I don't need to draw them out for you, but I draw them to the Chair's attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say, Mrs. Trahan?
No, I don't. No, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to see if anyone else wants to ask questions. I see you shaking heads.
Giving evidence is a very difficult process, Mrs. Trahan, and I recognise that. Thank you very much for your assistance this afternoon. You're free to go. Yes, Mr. Moss.
So thank you for sitting late this afternoon, and to our stenographer and electronic display team for their patience with us today. With your permission, we'll sit at 11 o'clock on Monday. The programme is Catherine Elsmore, the corporate witness on behalf of the Home Office, dealing with Home Office matters other than knives, followed by DCS Kenwright, corporate witness on behalf of CTP NW. That will be followed on Tuesday by the evidence of DAC Evans of the Counter-Terrorism Police Headquarters and Mr. Hunt, who's been added as an additional corporate witness statement on behalf of the Home Office to deal with knives policy issues. And there will then be our summary of the additional evidence on counter-terrorism. Just as a reminder to others that we are not sitting next Wednesday and Thursday or Friday. We're not sitting on Wednesday and Thursday because of the non-availability of our fantastic facility here.
And I think, contrary to the original proposal, we'll be sitting on Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon.
We will now extend it to Tuesday afternoon for Mr. Hunt's evidence.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone. 11 o'clock on Monday.